Could you survive 24 hours on the Titanic? Close your eyes and step aboard. You are walking onto the largest moving object humans have ever built. Nearly 900 feet of steel, electric light, and pure confidence. They are telling you this ship simply cannot sink. In a few hours, that one belief will kill more than 1,000 people. Because what dooms the Titanic is not the iceberg. It is everything they got wrong around it. It is April 10th, 1912 in Southampton, England. You walk up the gangway of the most famous ship in the world. Above you tower 4 giant funnels and 9 steel decks. The Titanic is 882 feet long, a city block standing on end, a floating palace heavier than anything that has ever sailed. On board with you are around 2,200 people. And here is the first thing that will decide if you live: your ticket. First class ride near the top, beside the lifeboats, wrapped in luxury. Third class sleep deep below, down near the waterline. Right now, that feels like a question of comfort. Tonight, it becomes a question of survival. Everywhere you go, you hear the same proud words: practically unsinkable. But here is your first myth. Almost no one screamed that the Titanic could not sink, until after she sank. Before the voyage, it was a quiet phrase in a few trade magazines. Afterward, it became the most famous boast in history. The real danger was never the word unsinkable. It was that the men in charge half believed it. So they gave their floating city something far deadlier than pride. They gave it too few lifeboats. For 4 days, the Titanic races west at 22 knots, almost top speed, straight into the cold heart of the North Atlantic. And all day long, the warnings arrive. Other ships are wiring the Titanic by radio. Ice, ice ahead, a field of it directly across your path. At least 6 separate ice warnings reach the ship that day. Some are carried to the captain. Some are never delivered at all. The radio men are buried under passengers' holiday messages. One warning is pushed aside, unread, and no one slows the ship down. In 1912, this is normal. Speed is pride, and schedules are money. The sea has always forgiven them before. Tonight, it will not. You sense nothing wrong, and you fall asleep in a ship already racing at the ice. 11:40 at night. The sea is dead calm with no moon. High in the crow's nest, a lookout named Frederick Fleet stares into the black. He has no binoculars. They were locked away and lost before the voyage. Then, out of the dark, a shape rises. An iceberg, dead ahead. He rings the bell 3 times and shouts down to the bridge. The officers heave the wheel over and order the engines thrown into reverse. But a ship this enormous cannot turn fast. It takes barely 37 seconds just for the bow to begin to swing. It is not enough. The iceberg grinds down the right side of the hull, below the waterline. There is no great crash. Most passengers feel only a shiver. Many of them sleep straight through it. But beneath the water, the wound is fatal. The ice has split open the first 5 compartments of the hull. The Titanic could float with 4 of them flooded, not 5. Her own designer takes one look at the damage and does the math, and the blood drains from his face. The unsinkable ship has, at most, 2 hours left to live. Around 2,200 people are on board, and there are lifeboats for barely half of them. The clock you never knew you were running has just started, and almost no one on board understands that yet. Minutes matter now. The crew begins to uncover the lifeboats. There are 20 of them, room for about 1,178 people. Enough for barely half of everyone aboard. And by the law of the time, that was perfectly legal. Here is your second myth. The Titanic did not break the rules. The rules counted the ship's tonnage, not its passengers. She actually carried more lifeboats than the law demanded. The law itself was the disaster. The cry goes up, women and children first. But that order is obeyed differently on each side of the ship. On the right side, one officer lets men climb in if no women are waiting. On the left side, another reads it as women and children only. He lowers boats half empty rather than let a single man step aboard. The very first lifeboat could hold 65 people. It leaves with 28. Hundreds who might have lived are rowing away from empty seats. And which side of the deck you stand on may quietly decide your life. The Titanic fires distress rockets, bursting white over the sea. On the black horizon sit the lights of another ship. The rockets are never answered. Far below, third-class passengers are still fighting their way up, through a maze of corridors, locked gates, and crews shouting in other languages. By the time many reach the boat deck, the boats are already gone. Above them, the ship's band keeps playing, not to be heroes, to keep 2,000 frightened people calm. Every last musician will die. The bow slides lower. The lights still glow beneath the water. And one by one, those left behind understand, there is no boat for you. 2:20 in the morning. Now the end comes fast. The stern rears up high into the freezing night. The lights flare once and go out forever. The Titanic tears in two and slips beneath the sea. 2 hours and 40 minutes after a bump most people slept through. And now around 1,500 human beings are in the water. The sea is 28 degrees Fahrenheit, -2 Celsius. And here is the cruelest myth of them all. They did not drown quietly, and they did not gently freeze. Water this cold hits you like a wall of knives. In the first minutes, it clamps your lungs and steals your breath. Your strength vanishes almost at once. Most of the 1,500 are gone within half an hour. 18 lifeboats sit in the dark, only yards away. Terrified of being swamped and pulled under, almost none of them row back. Out of 1,500 souls in the water, barely a handful are lifted out alive. At 4 in the morning, a rescue ship named Carpathia arrives to a silent, frozen sea. So, could you survive 24 hours on the Titanic? The honest answer is brutal. It barely depends on you. As a first-class woman, your chance of living is about 97%. As a third-class man, it is closer to 1 in 6. First class, 62% survived. Third class, just 25. Women, 75%. Men, only 20. Your courage counted for far less than your ticket, your sex, and your side of the deck. And the iceberg? The iceberg barely matters. The Titanic was sunk by overconfidence, by ignored warnings, by too few boats. It was a disaster built by people, long before it was ever touched by ice. But those 1,500 deaths did not vanish into the cold for nothing. They rewrote the law of the sea itself. Lifeboats for every soul aboard, radios that never sleep, an ice patrol that still watches these waters today. 2.5 miles down, the Titanic still rests in the dark where she fell. You pictured an iceberg. The real danger was everything we believed before we hit it.